Hi, Priti. Good to see you.
Hey, Tammy. Thanks for having me today.
And I want my audience to get to know you and the work that you do. So let's start with what you do.
All my career, I've known one thing, which is how to unlock growth for brands. And after having done that for brands like Adidas and Nike, now I'm trying to do that same thing for wider brands and SMEs working in the space of AI and sustainability.
Okay. And how did you get to this point? Because I know you've done lots of work with Nike, their digital transformation and all of that. How did you build a career thus far?
I think for me, what has been always my inspiration is to work on the futuristic things, in the sense that what are those key unlocks which will help us drive the business forward and better. And whether it has been like 10, 15 years ago, e-commerce, or now, although AI is being used as a buzzword, but really the learning and the wider data access that we have, how do we use that to the advantage of democratizing the growth of brands? And I think that's where, one step at a time, going after that, my career trajectory has basically led me to where I am today.
So what keeps you motivated? I know you talked about, looking at the future, but behind that, how do you inspire yourself to get things done?
People. I think the best part of anything I do is the people I get to work with. In the sense that, there's nothing as precious in the world to be able to get into a room with energy and ideas, and you don't even have to agree. Just that passion to really discover things or change things, that is what sparks me. And as long as I'm surrounded with the same energy, it's great.
Right. So you feed off the positive energy from others, your team members as well.
And hopefully exchange.
And let's talk about the biggest impact of your work and some of the projects that you're most proud of.
I think I'd like to narrate it in two parallel paths. One that is professional impact, and I think that almost comes with the accountability of your role. That, okay, what's the impact? And you can put $1 billion number on it. And I'm grateful to have had that opportunity. But I think professionally, if there's one impact, it's been about why going through that hyper growth models, building a team which was as resilient. Because for me, the goal I used to define and say, hey, the success is not just if we'll hit this number, we have to hit this number, and at the end of the day, we want to celebrate it together, and not it's done and you want to run in opposite directions because that was so exhausting. And I think that for me, discovering that with the team and that part of leadership, I think that's the work impact I would be proud of. Numbers, I think we all achieve. That's our responsibility. In terms of professional growth, again, some of the business model innovations, which are now public information, but in terms of in e-com, one small example is Europe and cash on delivery. That would sound alien even now to certain people. And then we wanted to go after a market at that time, and early research showed, hey, in Europe, these markets have huge unlock if we go with these kind of payment methods. And there was no playbook for that. There weren't any, let's say, payment service providers which were even supporting that. And going into a market like that and defining that market entry and redefining that playbook. So those kind of moments, definitely I feel proud of. But personally, I think being an AUDHD, which means I have autism and ADHD, creating awareness within the organizations and also in personal spaces, that's something I try to create more awareness and impact around.
And I know that currently you volunteer on the board of, I think, the Global ESG. Do you want to talk about that as well?
So yes, I'm principal advisor to global ESG leadership organization, and I'm also working with Institute of Neurodiversity. Both are headquartered in UK. I think the ideology behind that in the ESG organization, we personally, there are a lot of metrics and reports. What my endeavor is to speak specifically about social sustainability, the people part of it. I think unless we figure out how to actually empower and work on the people part of it, we won't be able to unlock the environment part. Like the foundation to really start bottom up is with the people, and I feel that we're still in coming from consumer focused industry. I think for the longest time that has been consumer has been the focus, and but not the one producing everything with the consumer. And I think how do we shift that narrative to create more awareness? For example, like if we knew what we're wearing today and where it came from, and you could see a video of that, and then I think creating that awareness and transparency would probably vocalize it. We have Second World Summit happening in Doha early November, where it is pivotal for the social sustainability and how are we going to unlock the SDG goal for poverty.
Yeah.
So that's something where my contribution in terms of principal advisory has been with those organizations.
Right.
And as part of Institute of Neurodiversity, the ideology is how do we create awareness, but also practically help organizations to integrate a neuro talent.
Right. And now, looking back at your career and your journey, what would you tell your 20-year-old self?
I was raised in very protected environment. So I think conforming came naturally to me. And I think I'd tell myself to take more risks, to not be afraid of challenging the status quo more, and to not be afraid of disappointing people, because you might end up creating something even bigger and beautiful, which they'll admire eventually. So I think that
would be it. Absolutely. And the last question is, if you look back and say, what would you want to be known for? What would that be? What would you like your legacy to be? I know that's a very
loaded question.
It's a very reflective question.
I think I would summarize it in one word: trust. I think it's not about what you're building or what you would create, or because I think and I hope that someone else will come. I'm not an Einstein. Unless you're making that discovery, I think for me, trust is the start of building relationships. Trust is the part which generates the environment which is safe and is collaborative and allows the kindness to not be afraid in helping out each other. So I think for me, if there's one thing, it is being able to every person my paths cross with, I think it would be that they remember me as this is a person I could easily trust. And I always try that in my interactions to be authentic self.
Thank you so much for your time, Priti. Yeah.